Good afternoon on what is a warm, bright and sunny day. It is Tuesday the 23rd of April and I'm in the reading nook with a nice hot cup of tea and box to continue unboxing. What I've got in here is a copy of The Darkest House by Monte Cook, published by Monte Cook Games. So, a descent into horror for the game you're playing right now. The house on the outskirts of town, sitting empty behind a crumbling wall. The one people whisper about, the one that has gone unlived in for years. Sometimes a few hearty souls creep in, it is said, to see what treasures or secrets they can find. Most find nothing, just an empty old house. Some return shaking, a few don't return at all. You've seen the house before, if not in the city, then in some other. You've heard the rumours, and if not, well, someday they'll find you. What happens to a house when it sits alone for so many long years? What jealousies and hatreds does it quietly nurture? What whispers echo through its empty hallways? What waits, couched in its dark rooms, hungering for the return of life, for you? The Darkest House will chill and frighten your players like no other RPG experience, but along the way, their characters will face unique challenges that will make them stronger, deeper, richer, and more powerfully bonded as a party. It integrates into your campaign regardless of the setting or game system, as a recurring element or as a single mega adventure, developing and enriching characters and your party along the way. Come explore The Darkest House. This book includes everything you need to bring your exciting existing characters into The Darkest House, regardless of your game's rule system. The massive and ever-growing house with dozens and dozens of fully detailed rooms, each offering unique mysteries, discoveries and horror. Hundreds of downloadable player-facing maps, illustrations, handouts, plus helpful game aids for the GM. There we go. So, let's have a look inside. It's got a really nice cover, which it makes it stand out because it's got that gloss against the buff background. And it also echoes the American Gothic. It's like that classic house you see atop the hill in Psycho, above the Bates Motel. Here we've got a shot inside, the front cover, and we'll go quickly into the table of contents. No credits per se yet. And this is the secrets of the house. The house invites you. The house hates you. The house wishes to be left alone. The house is lonely. The house is in pain. The house wants your pain. The house hates you. All houses in which men have lived and suffered and died are haunted houses. Mary Roberts Reinhardt, The Red Lamp. So here we've got the introduction, explaining what it is, giving some idea, and how to bring being a player in the Darkest House and the mood of the Darkest House. So this sets everything up. And it sort of can be read by both players and the game master. And here you've actually got a guide to being a GM and then a warning. So then we actually get into the house system, because it stands alone from whatever game system you're using, but you're going to integrate sort of like elements of whatever you're using into the house system, sort of vice versa. So everything has a rating, and it works from that. Essentially, it's going to be a similar kind of rating as to what you get in sort of the Cypher system. And then we have how to convert your player characters and their ratings, and you've got a table there of how to convert them from various game systems. So whether your stats are on a 1 to 10 to 20 scale, a 1 to 4, 1 to 6, or a 1 to 100. So percentile, sort of like a 3 to 18 kind of scale for your Dungeons and Dragons, and that's a similar sort of thing. So, and then it asks about what character spells, magic items, special abilities, how do they work in the house. And it deals with the same similar things, but also about what about hit points, attributes, sanity scores, speed moves. So there we've got the simple guide on how to integrate those and so on and then the end of it, you've also got a guide there to converting your characters back. So the characters can go back and forth according to the play. So here's the base system, how to roll dice and take actions. The player always rolls. So much like the Cypher system, it's player facing. And then essentially things like the house die, basically not necessarily a case of that the house always wins, but there is a mechanic there for it. And you have the boons and banes, essentially advantages and disadvantages, and even dooms. And dooms are things that you can carry out of the house with you, because it says here leaving the house with dooms, and they can have a lasting effect. So, and there's the task resolution mechanic, neatly summed up, I should say. And here, how about an example of character conversion? So that's really useful. And you've got another one opposite. So how about another example or two? Handling damage. There are two ways to get hurt: physical harm and mental harm. And here we have that. We've got an example of how the system works. We've got an example of attacking in play, and we've got a nice quote there from Shelley Jackson from The Haunting of Hill House. It watches, he added suddenly, the house, it watches every move you make. And then we move on to the truth and lies we bring with us, what you bring into it, character arcs and the house, so you can have a greater storyline running through it. And then I'm going to discuss the nature of the house. And then we have the story of the house. This is really the area for the game master, and essentially it says, why not just spell out the background of the house? But so there is some obfuscation here. But you do have reasons, essentially reasons to enter the house, stories within the house. What happens if the player characters decide to research the house? And we've got rumours about the house, conditions within the house. So this is general broad descriptions, and then sort of like time gets strange with inside and how that affects the PC player character abilities. And then what happens if you sleep in the house? That's an interesting thing to talk about. Also, damaging with the house. What happens if the players decide to take it out on the structure itself? And throughout, you've got this quite subtle artwork. So it's like you've almost got two childlike master figures there, but then you've got a mysterious kind of master figure just lurking in the background in the gloom. So here we get to the section specifically for the game master. So that starts off with useful advice on player safety and consent at the table, and then moving on to actually how to use the module of the book, emphasising more story than mechanics, and looking at the possible challenge of running it. It's actually quite the longest section so far. And then we've got horror gaming tips and techniques, and what happens when the house acts. So the house is a character unto itself. So you might have creaking sounds, footsteps, or similar noises. A wounded inhabitant of the house is fully healed. A cold draft blows. A translucent image appears. So on. How to gain entrance to the house. Whether that's through the front door, back door, over the wall, through a devoured room, and then once you're in the house, how do you get out? How do you escape the house? And then we have escaping but not home. Since the house worms its way into all worlds, but what happens if you escape with doom? And then it's got a nice quote: "When a house is both hungry and awake, every room becomes a mouth." And here we have sort of general layout, guide to the rooms, and this, I think this is actually presented sort of like inside back cover as well. And we begin to actually get a description of particular locations within the house. You've got sections of the house, so and then rooms. So the first section, the potato section, and then we've got the living room. Quite an open, easy description, nice layout, and then you've got in the corner there QR code to download for maps. And then you move out onto the lightless hall, the boundless room, more detailed description, more QR codes, more maps, floor plans, going through it section by section, room with a hidden elevator, the library, so on, the familiar room. Definitely a sense of things lurking just out there in the gloom in this supplement. Trophy room. And the shadowy hallway with that figure just literally looming out of the darkness. And it's going on and on like this, and it's almost like there's this sort of like a video game quality to this in its description and detail, in its feel, almost like you are playing like a zombie Evil Dead kind of game. You know, expect a dog to leap out of a cupboard, or a zombie or something. A storeroom of sorts. Just, yeah, that's creepy and weird. We have an armory, which almost seems to be actually underwater. Great hall, and that's the one that you could get to see the picture of in the front, inside the front cover. And we've got the next section is Meta, staircase, and again more artwork similar. And then we have, for example, here the ringing of the telephone from the nearby sitting room, and you've got the QR code for that, so you can scan that, play that automatically, just bring that into the situation. And it's nice, this sort of essentially it does have, you know, this is something you listen to, you know, an icon for that. So in essence, what this is as much it's a role-playing sort of like campaign stroke scenario that has much more of an auditory and physical kind of experience to it, with the inclusion of the recordings. It's probably the most well-lit location I've come across so far, the wine cellar. It's going to bring it alive, increase the sort of like the sense of space and place and oddness to it. and it has this. I mean, obviously the recurring images of this sort of like motherly skeletal figure lurking everywhere throughout this section, just as in the previous section. He was looming, so I'm presuming it's going to be carried on in the next section as well. There's the kitchen. Something different there. Wine cellar. That's it. Our staircase of a greenhouse. And here's, there's the other motif you see with the grinning man, all teeth. We have a mannequin room. Just it's playing into that style of the Gothic American kind of horror film story. I move on to freighter. On corridor. Even outside for the tree. So multiple locations that your group is going to be exploring, trying to work out what significance of each location. The familiar room again with its iconic figure just lurking in the background, and the strange energy of the reaction. Basically, that spider's webs or something else in the nursery, and the baby appearing again, horned, strange. And then we have Sora at the garden. In the doll room, the cat menagerie, and here the recurring figure is that woman. Is she underwater? It sort of looks like it. And we have a tea room. Here she is in more detail. Another secret chapel. And that's not actually a baby that she's actually got in her hands. And it's interesting. It's interesting that sort of like as we proceeded through this section, she's appeared more and more and got larger and larger until she's present. And almost sort of like as if she's working her way towards you as you proceed through this section of the house. And it gets weirder and stranger. Amateur. And perhaps in the private study where you might find some clues, there is a clue board. The master bedroom, of course. And a twisted room. And even room for a time loop. We make our own monsters, then fear them for what they show us about ourselves. Might carry in Peter Gross at the Unwritten. And more secrets with a summoning chamber. Worse, a fountain of pain. Halls of the pain. And then we have a section on the original house. So there is a sense of this house having been warped and changed over time to reach its current state. So on, and we've got remnants, essentially leftovers for clues to be found throughout, and all of which come with QR codes which you can download and show to your players. You've got that's in one appendix. The second appendix is full of digital assets. And we have an index of the rooms at the end. And at the end it says, this inhuman place makes human monsters. Stephen King, The Shining. So, that is The Darkest House, a giant horror scenario, horror campaign, something to weave into other scenarios or campaigns. I could imagine this working quite well with almost a lot of other campaigns. Work well with, let me see, the obvious ones to come to mind would be like Ravenloft as another haunted house to slot into that. Call of Cthulhu, I suppose, yes. Vaesen particularly, but in general other horror games like that. So yeah, that's The Darkest House, published by Monte Cook Games. If you've enjoyed this unboxing in the Nook, thanks so much for watching, but please do click on the like button down below. If you've got any comments or feedback, I do appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to get more unboxings in the Nook, where you will see me out here with a box containing a book or game, or in this case a scenario campaign, which I will unbox and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea, then please do click on the subscribe button down below. Thanks again for watching another unboxing in the Nook. I will be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.